What's going on, guys? Gainz Gaming here, and today we are talking about should you invest into one troop type or should you diversify your account? Now, if you are new here, I'm a sponsored content creator with Rise of Kingdoms, and I've been making videos for years for you guys. So if you have not yet subscribed, feel free to do so, completely free to play for you, and supports me tremendously. So I appreciate you. Now, if you did not know, I used to be an infantry main. I used to run only infantry commanders, and that was many years ago. And since then, I have diversified my account to run multiple troop types. So for reference, I run 2 infantry, I run 2 cavalry, I run 1 archer, and I also run 1 engineering march. So that's 6 marches. And I'm actually starting to work on a 2nd archer march, which I don't know if I'm going to fully commit to. But as you can see, I've already crafted the KVK helmet and the KVK weapon. So I'm kind of already committed, but that's a topic for another video. We'll get into that another day. But like I said, I used to be an infantry main, and so I know both sides of this, running a diversified marches and running only 1 troop type. And we'll be talking about the pros and cons of both and what I've experienced doing both. So let's start with running 1 troop type. So for me, I ran only infantry. And one reason why running 1 troop type is very advantageous is because when you are healing your troops, let me just clear all these out except for infantry, because that's what I ran. You can see 0 stone to heal. And that's important because if you are in a kingdom that is very competitive, if you have a lot of players that use a lot of cavalry, you can see here, food and stone. And when we go back to infantry, we got food and wood. So theoretically, if you have a friend that only runs cavalry, you can trade them all of your stone and they can give you all their wood, because wood for them is useless and stone for you is useless. And so that makes it really easy to gather resources. And plus, if you have multiple farm accounts like I do, if you guys want to know how to do this, I have a full guide on how to get multiple farm accounts into your same kingdom. But you can specialize every single farm account to only gather the resources that you need. That way you are not wasting resources. And even when you take a look at my current resources, you can see I use mostly food and stone, not as much wood, because typically my cavalry are filling up my hospital the fastest because they're getting to the fight the soonest, and probably getting wiped the fastest as well because they're moving around the most. So that is one huge benefit. Another one is your city theme. So for reference, with like Twilight Falls, we actually used to get penalized for using some of these city skins. They actually took this away. But previously with Twilight Falls, you'd have 5% extra skill damage and minus 10% infantry attack, which if you are an infantry main, that sucks, because not only are you not getting the full benefit of skill damage because smite damage doesn't count for that, but also you're losing 10% attack. That is no longer, so you're only getting the upside here. But if you take a look at the Frozen City, for example, if you are an archer main and you only use archers, you're getting 5% archer defense. And so that's benefiting all your marches. Or this one, you're getting 5% cav health. So you're benefiting all your marches. Versus if you have this and you have 1 cav, 1 archer, 1 infantry, you're only benefiting your cavalry. So it can really change how beneficial a certain city skin is, because you're only using archers or you're only using cavalry. Or if you're diversified, you're using everything. And so you're not getting this benefit from the 5% cav health, which is why Twilight Falls is better, or why Persian Dream is better, because you're getting full stats from everything. And then one other bonus for having 1 troop type is just material production. So for example, if you're crafting something that's for archers, you're gonna need a lot more ebony than any other resource. So when you are crafting or when you are trying to make your materials, you're only going to need to get ebony, because you don't really need a whole lot of iron ore or leather because you're crafting only archer gear. So that is a huge benefit a lot of people don't talk about, is that you're not having to diversify between the 3, but you're really only focusing on 1, because that's really all you need when you're crafting these legendary blueprints, because every single one is specialized to the troop type. So for infantry, you don't really need any ebony at all. You really only need iron ore primarily, and you need some leather. Whereas for cavalry, you need a lot of leather and a little bit of ebony. And then for archers, you need a lot of ebony and a little bit of iron ore. So it all kind of gets diversified. So if you are using 1 of each troop type, it kind of balances out. If you're only using 1, then you can really specialize in ebony if you're using archers, or iron ore if you're using infantry, etc. Now, one final thing I want to talk about when it comes to the benefits of using 1 troop type is, for example, if you're using only cavalry, you have a lot of fast marches. And so when you are marching on the open field, let me just show you what this would look like. So this is kind of one of the biggest downsides to using multiple marches, or multiple troop types, I should say, is let me just show you the difference of speed with all of these marches. So I'm going to have my 1 archer, going to have 2 infantry, I'm going to have 1 cav. And let me just show you, I'll march all these on territory. Look at the time differences. So we got a minute 1, minute 25, minute 11, and a minute 09. So let's just show you what this looks like. So if we have the murder ball here and we're all moving this way, just watch what happens. You can see they're all still pretty close together, but by the time we get to the end, we're going to have a lot of discrepancies on where my troops are. And if we continue, say we go, let's go a little bit further. Let's go this way. So you can already see cavalry starting to pull ahead. And when you're moving on the field, a lot of times you're moving minutes at a time, not just 30 seconds to a minute. You're moving like 5 minutes up the map. So like if you're in Kingsland, for example, and just let's pretend this is Kingsland, and you're coming from this pass and you're trying to come way over here to this wib, like that's going to take you probably 3 or 4 minutes to march at the very least. And like your calves are going to get here and your archers and infantry are going to be way back here. So you can already see the difference between this. And so when you have only cavalry, all your calves are right here. Yes, you're going to have some cav commanders that are faster than others, but when you extend this over the period of minutes and minutes and minutes, like the archers fall way behind. Some infantry can kind of keep up, like Luce is kind of keeping up with calves, but that's because he has Alex behind him. And so Alex is going to be benefiting with that march speed. So you can really see how having one troop type can be kind of nice in the open field because you're kind of sticking together. Whereas here you're really opening up. And in a lot of circumstances, when you're opening up on the open field like this, someone might take advantage and be able to hit your slow marches and wipe you out before you even get to the murder ball because they're just so spaced out. And if you're like, oh crap, they're attacking me, you're not close enough to be able to really do anything about it. So that is a pretty nice benefit of only running one troop type. But let's talk about why running multiple troop types, in my opinion, is still better than choosing one troop type and running with it. I know I just talked about a lot of the benefits, but let's talk about some of the benefits of running multiple troop types. And I would say the biggest one is that you can invest into the meta of every single troop type. Because when you only run infantry, like let's just do a little bit of a comparison here. So if you take all these infantry commanders and you compare them to all the cavalry commanders, how many of these infantry commanders are better than the cavalry commanders? I would argue that Luce is the best commander in the game. And I haven't used BQ obviously, but I have not seen enough from him to classify him as like the second best commander in the game. But beyond that, are there any other infantry commanders that are better than cav commanders? Like, is Scipio better than Joan Prime? Or is Ragnar Prime better than Huka Bing? Or is Guan better than Nevsky? Like, no, they're not. And the reality is, when you specialize in one troop type, you are sacrificing the ability to get some of the other best commanders in the game. So, like for example, when you run 3 infantry pairs, which I think infantry out of everything, that's probably the one I would go for if I'm going to run 3 pairs of something. But like for infantry, you really have probably 8 commanders that you can look into. So obviously Luce, you got BQ, you got Scipio, you got Ragnar Prime. I would say those are your top 4. And then going on to William Wallace, probably have Guan Yu, that's 6. But the pairings on that don't really match up very well. You also have Alexander the Great. You also have Gorgo. So out of these commanders, like, yeah, you have probably 8 different commanders you can choose from. But again, is like Guan Yu a better commander than Huka Bing? No, he's not. Huka Bing is better than Guan Yu. So if you were to choose between running Huka Bing and Arthur versus running Guan and Alex, or Guan and Leo, or Guan and Scipio, I'm going to choose a cavalry. And so that's something that people don't really consider, is that if you choose one troop type, you are missing out on all the meta marches from the other troop types. And I know I talk about like archers are in a really bad spot right now, but Zeuge and Herman is still a fantastic march. Really the only thing they're missing is march speed. And if they had extra march speed, like if you gave Zeuge an extra 10-15% march speed, like he's going to be phenomenal, but he's just missing that march speed. And so when you compare Zeuge and Herman to, you know, like a 3rd tier infantry pair, like I don't think the 3rd tier infantry pair is better than a 1st tier archer or a 1st tier cav, which is why I would argue that one of each troop type is probably the best of both worlds, where you're getting one of everything, so you can choose the best meta infantry, the best meta cavalry, the best meta archers, and you can really just go into that and win a new infantry comes out like BQ, like maybe you're running Luce and Scipio. And now you're like, okay, well, I can put those heads into BQ and then start saving for the next meta commander. So then say the archers are coming next and you have Zeuch and you have Herman, and then a new commander comes that replaces Herman, or a new commander comes and replaces Zeuch. Then you can take those heads, invest in that brand new commander, and boom, you have the meta archer again. And then same thing, cavalry, a commander that comes by and replaces the Hukabing and the Arthur. And now you're able to invest into that next meta, and etc. You can see how this can be very, very advantageous. And obviously, it doesn't work as well if you have more than 3 troops. But if you have only 3, if you're a low spender, a mid spender, a free-to-play player, you have 1 of each, I think that's a great idea, because that way you can really invest into the full meta every single time it comes around. That way you can really stay prepared. Otherwise, you're just constantly trying to be like, okay, well, this really good commander came out. Like, for example, if you are a cav main and the brand new infantry comes out and it's like, holy crap, BQ is so good. Or you're missing out on Luce. You're missing out on so many kills because you're like, nope, I'm a cav main, I can't invest in infantry. I think you're really closing yourself off to some of the best commanders in the game. So that'd be my argument as to why you should diversify your account. That's personally what I have chosen to do. Like I said, coming from someone that used to be an infantry main, and even though infantry mains can be successful, I think there is far more benefit to diversifying your account. Curious to see what you guys think, so comment your thoughts down below. Again, if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, drop a like and subscribe. That way you don't miss out on future videos. I appreciate you watching this one, and I'll see you guys in the next video.